Alright, so this video is for you filthy race casuals like myself. I'm deeply involved in the engine building shit, but when it comes to racing, class rules, and all that bullshit, I don't really know the details, or didn't know the details until recently. Like I mentioned, I talked about the 8.7 second B series. We talked about like why that was, why it's impressive. And then there was the controversy around it, around that pass, and people were bitching apparently, and Four Piston was potentially throwing shade. Like, so what's going on to explain to you guys? Because I said I didn't have any information, and now I do. I talked to Kenny. Kenny informed me on the situation, cleared it up for me, and then I'm actually glad I didn't make this video last night like I was going to, because I just came across the conversation that 100% squashed any kind of hazy not understanding of what the situation. Like I said, this is for the filthy race casuals that don't really understand what was going on there either. They were just impressed by the number and the power making by this B series, which initially is what it was. Like, I didn't care about class rules or race rules or whatever. I'm like, that's a B series at NA and it made 600 horsepower. That's insane. Especially after we just got done talking about how K series is king because K does everything. So a little bit of more information on that B series. Apparently, it's some crazy wild Frankenstein. Now, this is not coming from the builder himself. This is secondhand knowledge from somebody who said they heard the information or saw it somewhere. But apparently, they're not using Honda rods for that. They're made some kind of crazy stroker kit, and they put a plate on there on the engine block to also extend the stroke or whatnot. So apparently, if my understanding is correct, you have the engine block, a sandwich plate to extend the cylinders, and the head. So that's crazy. It's a multi-tiered. But that also just goes to show, like how we've talked about before, like how B series is just extremely hard to make out crazy horsepower. And then to be 100% clear on that, this car making that power. So it's got some crazy Frankenstein setup, and it's on nitromethane, right? And this is where the controversy comes in from, like, the potential shade throw by Luke or whatnot when he's talking about not getting their power from a bottle, right? So, class rules, right? So, all motor, that class, that you see all the 9-second passes that from these all motor Ks or whatnot, that is restricted to M1 racing fuel. M1 racing fuel, I do believe, is 110 octane, right? So that's the class rules. So while the Four Piston 9-second passes, or these guys that run all motor Ks, the 9-second passes are extremely impressive, and now we're getting into the 8s and shit, extremely impressive. It's even more impressive when you consider that some of these, like the Super 99, are doing it on a stock stroke, right? And also that they're doing this on 110 octane. So what happened was, with that mix-up with the B series, is that apparently, to diversify the all-motor field and allow more people to compete, they, like, the whole reason for class restrictions are to purposely impose handicaps, right? Same thing like with making a 10-second pass all-motor versus making a 10-second pass turbo, right? One thing is much easier to do than the other. A lot more work and development needs to go into that NA setup to make that 10-second pass as it does for the turbo. When a lot of times, if you've got a power deficiency, it's as simple as turning up the fucking boost. In a setup, when you got a power deficiency or you need to try and milk out more power, there's a lot more shit you have to do to try and get that power, which is why Luke was saying we get our NA power from research and development to squeeze out the extra 10 horsepower, what we do like that, versus getting our power added from a bottle. Now, when he's talking about getting the power added from a bottle, he's talking about nitromethane. Nitromethane as a fuel is so powerful that just adding nitrometh and retuning on that to your current setup can add 50 fucking horsepower. That is an enormous jump from fuel. There's not many, I can't really think of, I know that you can switch to E85 and the M1 and the C16 and squeeze out like 10, 15 horsepower there, but a lot of times you don't really see or hear that kind of jump in horsepower from just throwing a fuel change. So 50 horsepower is impressive as fuck. Now, the thing is, they were saying the people who were loving the B series, was dominant on this recent shit and won the class, and they're talking shit about it, like, oh, the big crybaby B K series. Somebody was saying in a thread with Kenny and Alex, Like, oh, why the fuck would you, why are you crying and complaining about this B series running it? He goes, why don't you just match it? Like, the B series made the rules. But see, the thing is not everybody in All Motor was allowed to run Nitro Meth. It was just the B series guy, and I think maybe H series guys were involved in it as well. But we're gonna focus on the B series because that's what it was. So we have this All Motor class. Everybody in the class is restricted to fucking to M1. Now, B Series can't compete, apparently, with M1. You're not making the power that these guys make on M1. So what they do, like, all right, B Series guys, we'll let you run Nitro Meth. So the guy was saying, why would you complain about, that Nitro Meth car running on the rules, and why don't you just do what you need to do? He goes, why don't you just run it with the K with Nitro Meth? And then they're like, first off, the K Series Nitro Meth has already run 8.6, all right? So we've already got an 8.6, which is faster than an 8.7 B Series, right? And secondly, that fucking Nitro Meth fucking K Series runs in this different class. It's not allowed to run in the All Motor class. I think that it runs in a True Street. I'm not 100% sure. But the point is, the Nitro Meth K Series guys run in a different class. They are running faster, and they're running in a different class. They're running a second faster. So I think the top guys in the All Motor is like 9 and 9.5 index. Even though I do know that we have some 8-second passes now. Right, I think the world record currently is like an 8.8. I'm not 100% sure. Well, before this B series, right? So it was an 8.8. So they're like, when you're talking about a full second difference, right? And that is a pretty big one. It's a pretty big one, especially when you're talking about sub 10s. We talk about single digit passes. So the whole thing is like, oh, K series being crybabies. Not really, because the K series is already faster than Nitro Meth, but they're not allowed to run in the All Motor class. They're running in a different class. So it's kind of fucked up when you're given like a huge fuel upgrade, fucking crutch to the B series guys, and it's kind of like being in a fight, kind of like being in a wrestling match with one arm tied behind your back. Because I guess Nick Newell fights with one arm and he's successful, but like a wrestling match or a grappling based match where it's all grappling, and you tie the fucking guy's dominant hand behind his back and like go out there and win, and then you give this like, okay, so like you give like Gracie, like tie one hand behind his fucking back, and then start him, not only, so you tie an arm behind his back, and then you start him in off his back in somebody's fucking with somebody on his back, right? So you get this 18-year-old kid who comes in, and he's not like world class, but he's trained. He's a blue belt. He knows what he's doing. Now, fucking, you tie this dude's arm behind his back, and you let the fucking kid take his back and start with a choke synced in. And then like, okay, go. And then the kid wins. It's like, well, yeah, you won. So you can't be like, oh, I won, stop crying. Like, okay, yeah, you won, but you won with me, my hand tied behind my back, and you started on my back with a choke already in place. So, yeah, the B Series is really impressive. The fact that it made 600 horsepower is really impressive, but it's not... It's like, it's for people who say that these K series making this power level isn't really a K series anymore. It is a K series head and a K series block. The only way it's not a K series is if you're doing a situation like where it's you're doing a billet block or a billet head or some shit. These are factory cast heads and factory cast blocks that have been modified. Serious overbore or shit like that. I think that the only thing that'd be crazy on some of these are the stroke. But even then, again, Honda, with the 4-piston makes the Super 99, which is a stock stroke K24, right? It's a stock K24 stroke. So there are engines out there putting fucking crazy horsepower down on stock stroke and a stock fucking block and head, or a factory block and head, that haven't done anything crazy. So it seems like if what I'm hearing is true about this B Series, they're running a crazy Frank build, and which is still impressive, and running Nitro Meth. So I guess if it kind of neuters any kind of claim that B Series is like some kind of dominant thing, because it's not. Like, first off, we're not seeing it as a consistent thing. We're not seeing a whole bunch of crazy fast B Series running out there like that in A. And apparently the one it is had a huge crutch and advantage in its time. So as far as these all motor Ks that we see, because this is a class that has shined, all motor. But can these guys go faster than like, oh my god, we're seeing all these 9-second in a K series? Well, apparently we can fucking shave off an entire second and move down to the 8.5 bracket if they could just change up the Nitro Meth. And I think also recently we had that 600 horsepower fucking Nitro Meth K series, and that just goes to show and prove it. And I guarantee you, if you put that Nitro Meth K series versus that Nitro Meth B series, you're gonna see that the fucking Nitro Meth K is a whole lot more Honda than that Nitro Meth B was. And of course, engineering in general, I love doing it, mixing and matching parts to make things work is great. I love that kind of shit. But at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to use that as a comparison when you think of the extremities that it went through to make that kind of power and make that in that B compared to what everybody's doing with the K. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that I didn't talk about it too much, but this is why I talk to you guys to say that I try not to talk about things that I don't know about. I wait to get more information. So sometimes me not coming out with a video response right away, it's just taking a minute to let things marinate and to not overreact. As an example, like even recently with me doing my VTech killer shit, you know, I find myself having to go back and change things, you know, being said like, hey, what things come from certain things and which needs to be cut, which don't, just because of the fact that it's new still. A lot of people are trying to chime in or make their comments on it, and I'm still trying to see myself firsthand instead of just trying to take what people say. Alright guys, so yeah, that's it. I will talk about something else, and I won't blue ball you anymore. I'm going to talk about, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the four piston again. I haven't talked about them in a while, and I just want to take another look at the Super 99, and that might not be a long video, but I do want to talk about that. So thanks guys for watching, and peace. Oh, social media links, they're in the description below. For anybody that wants to get in contact me for whatever reason, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook are my primary things that I track. And I guess follow on Instagram if you want to keep up to date with everything I'm doing. I don't film, I don't make vlogs for every single build I'm doing. If you want to see what's going on there, Instagram is the best way to find out. Alright guys, thanks for watching.